All right, we are live, and I do this every time. Welcome back to Honestea Talks. I am Ranjita Singh.
And I am Ashley Peña.
And today we have a special guest. We are introducing guests for season 5 of Honestea Talks, and our first guest is our dear friend, Monica from San Francisco, and I will let her kind of introduce herself and what she's all about.
Hey guys, I'm so happy to be here. So my name is Monica Navarro American. I am a artist and I'm a bruja, but I have been a personal trainer for almost a decade now, like going on 8 years. So that's how I know Ronnie and Ashley actually. So it's really my background, but now I'm just focused on my art and spirituality.
Yes. Oh,
So
we love
with
her
that
so much.
being said, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, I'm done.
Okay. I wanted to introduce the topic. So today's topic is, it kind of, I feel like, and you guys interrupt if you feel like it, covers a broad spectrum. Not only does it involve fitness and personal training, but body image, body dysmorphia, body acceptance. I don't like to say body positive.
Yeah.
A new
Body
word that comes to me
neutrality.
is body gratitude.
Yes. Yes.
And so we're going to be covering kind of all of that and our own individual journeys with our bodies
Yes.
and professions.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Well, I think the reason why I'm on this show is because I posted a post about how I was feeling. And it's just ironic how we're all aligned because I had typed up the thing like the night before, but I never posted it yet because I wasn't ready. I was just letting my, thoughts just kind of shower out. And then Ronnie actually posted that about a shower quote about like how sometimes like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, if you could elaborate on that. I don't remember exactly what it said.
Okay, I'll read it because I don't remember either. And we like to go live here. Authenticity.
Yes.
Okay, I know it's here. Here we go. Some days you look in the mirror and love what looks back. Other days you look in the mirror and feel blah about what looks back. All days it has to do with where your mind is at.
Yes. And so that's when I finally posted my post, but it was robbing the same thing. So I told Ronnie, I was like, oh my God. And
Yeah.
I was just tripping off of how aligned it was. And I actually posted and that's when Ashley commented on my post and then we went off on like a little like voice memo, like back and forth. And we were like, we have to feature this on the show because it's so important to talk about.
Yeah. It is. And I think that was the beauty of you guys sharing that, because I think that sometimes, well, most of the time you have so many people feeling this way and going through these thoughts and going through these experiences, but not talking about them. And so a lot of people think they're by themselves. They think that these thoughts don't occur and they feel like they're the only ones going through it. So when someone shares it, despite the discomfort and the fear, then other people resonate with it and they relate to it and they're inspired by it. And I think that that's why it was extra important for us to talk about it, because we have so many similar experiences in that we are like all in the fitness industry and we have that background and we all have experienced our own like transformations physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And I think it's important for people to see that like we mirror each other, but not only each other, so many people out there, you know, that feel like they're the only ones that experience these things. Like they're definitely not the only ones. And we know that through our own mirrored experiences, but I think through talking about this, other people will feel like they have people that they can relate to, and not just one person, you know, like you guys have people that follow you and that resonate with you individually, just like I do. And I think it's important for people to see that it's not just me and it's not just you and it's not just Ronnie. It's many people that struggle with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have a mind. And so we're all going to be affected by certain things in different ways. And I think once we start learning ourselves, we start unlearning things we've been told about how life should be lived or what health is. But when you start learning yourself, you start learning what health is for you. And I think that's what's been so great about this journey, especially witnessing it with you guys, is the fluctuation and the waves of it. Like, we're all three different bodies, but we're kind of on similar journeys in the sense of like learning what works best for ourselves, what works best for how we teach it to others. Um, and that authenticity of showing it so that other people, like you said, know it's okay to have those ups and downs.
Absolutely.
I think it's so important, specifically with our background as people in the fitness industry, and particularly like you mentioned, like I believe us three in particular, like because we're having this conversation and we've been on this journey together and we've witnessed each other break free of a lot of the stigmas in the fitness industry and a lot of the conditioning in the fitness industry, the diet culture, the body obsession. And so
Yeah.
I think it's really important for people to hear our perspective because we've lived through it. And I know you know how it goes when you are in that industry, like super hardcore in it. You can't help but fall kind of prey to all of the stuff that can like fog our mind up, you know? And I think that's what was so trippy for me with posting and being vulnerable about like my personal experience, because one of the main things for me is that I don't even weigh myself anymore, so I don't even know what my weight is, but I have expanded. So this quarantine has expanded me in multiple ways, even physically.
Same, same. I can relate to that one.
Yeah. And so I feel like it was like interesting because in the past, you know, like I was empowered in a sense, but like I still had the same negativity committee that sometimes pops in like from time to time, hitting me up back then. So, you know, they were hitting me up, but not that I was there. So, I like felt so like weird because I was like, you know what? Like I'm feeling this now. And it's weird because like I feel great in my body now because I've worked past a lot of that. But it's just weird triggering moments where I see myself, I don't know, it's weird. I see myself at home in my mirrors, my regular mirrors at home, and I don't see anything different. And then I went to my uncle's house and he has just massive mirrors. I was house sitting and I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I look so different. You know, I was just processing myself like, holy shit, I look so different. And then it was photos. I was taking a lot of photos recently, you know, and I just like, it's my mind was fucked. It was expecting to see something different. And then it was like, I saw like, it was just weird. But the thing is that I experienced that even in the past when I was at my fittest and I was doing fitness shoots, I still had the same thoughts. And I look back in retrospect now and I'm like, what the hell? Like, why did you feel quote unquote fat? Why did you feel like something was wrong? You know what I mean? It's so trippy. So I think that's what I've been trying to wrap my head around.
Oh my gosh. I love that you brought that up because I think that it's so important to understand that like mindset and what it feels like to do that, because it really doesn't have to do with how you actually look, but it has so much to do with how you perceive yourself. And I resonate so much with what you said because I have also been in a thinner body and not have been able to see that thinner body because of the perception that I have of myself, because of the fact that I think that I'm still not worthy, that I'm still not beautiful, that I'm still not enough. And so even when you do take that path of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes and I'm going to have this dream body or whatever, you know, that we're conditioned to do. When you take that path and you follow through with it and you get results, but you're not healed and you haven't been able to change your perception and like really take control over your mind, it's really close to impossible to even see those results because you're still in your mind, you're still not enough, you're still not worthy, and you still have to do more. And I think that that's really important to talk about too, because a lot of people that maybe haven't taken that path think that once they do, then they'll be free, then they'll have worthiness, then they'll have happiness, and they'll have health. But because we've all kind of embarked on those paths and those journeys, we know that that's just not how it works, that it's definitely a mind, body, soul thing, which is what we've all kind of transitioned into. It's like essential that you tend to your mental health and your physical health, but that you don't equate your physical health or the way that your body is shaped and looks and your weight to health, because that is not, they don't equal the same thing, especially when you're not healthy and you can't really even see yourself for who you are. and you're so obsessed with like how you look that you can't even see it, you know, like it's a really trippy thing, and it's really challenging. And it's something that I think what's important too is talking about how it's not something that is in the past for us, but something that we deal with and work through every day. Because I think what happens a lot of times is that, you know, like people see us and they're like, oh, I like want to be like that, or I want to be free, or I want to be confident. But it's not about like the fact that we've gotten to a different place. It's just that we do the inner work consistently, and those thoughts and limiting beliefs arise for us too. We just have certain tools that we've learned throughout our journeys to be able to handle them in a different way, versus before, when I had limiting beliefs or triggering thoughts, I would feed them, and I would do whatever I had to do to feel better, which involved me like restricting or hurting myself, and, you know, overdoing it, which is totally encouraged in the fitness industry, especially.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thoughts that went through my head. My uncle has like an at-home gym, so, and they're super like health like nuts over there. I just call it health nuts, you know. And so I kind of felt like, oh my god, I started monitoring like what I was eating, like, and I just started like feeding into these little weird like thought patterns that I was like, nope, I'm gonna have a Girl Scout cookie because I want one, and it's in the cabinet.
Oh, that was me last week. I don't know how many I ate.
I killed my last 2 boxes last night. Cycle. But oh my god, yeah. No, and you know what? Like, I was really triggered, but like you said, we've accumulated these tools. But that's why I felt like it was so hard for me to be vulnerable with that post. And it was weird. I told Ashley, like, I started having anxiety, Ronnie. Like, I don't even know why, and I didn't even know where it came from. I had to sit there with myself and be like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? Why are you feeling anxiety involving this post? And I was telling Ashley, like, a part of me felt like, you know, I should have just posted something positive, because then people started telling me like, you look amazing, and I was like, thank you, like, I appreciate the comments, like, I know that. But you know, the point is that I felt like so inclined to share this because I have been on this journey, you know, we have been on this journey. And that's one of the sentences that I didn't get to include because it was really long, but I actually, so it was in there, but I took it out. It didn't flow right. But what I wanted to kind of elaborate was that even people like us who have been on this journey for who knows how long, have gone through the winds of it all, we still experience these feelings. And that's why I feel like people like us have to, like, kind of not, we don't have to, but it helps to speak up, because then people are like, oh wow, like, you know, it's not, like you said, just about going and doing it all and getting that dream body. Because even like, you know, I used to be a bigger girl like all my life, and so that was how I thought too. When you're a bigger person, in my own perspective, you think specifically like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and it was really bad. You think like, you know, all this stuff was really bad, like the media, the marketing, all of that, diet culture. You think, oh, I'm gonna just lose weight and I'm gonna just, it's, my problems are gonna be solved. I'm gonna be accepted. I'm gonna be normal. You know, I'm not gonna be like, you know, whatever negative things associated with being fat, you know, that people have often labeled you as, all of these things. And then, you know, I kind of explained to people, like, because once I did get to my lowest, which, you know, was pretty low for my height, I was really skinny, and I didn't even feel skinny, but, you know, I would always tell people, like, you're gonna find something else, like, and this is gonna sound hella funny, I'm gonna make it sound like that on purpose, but you will start to hate your toes. You will start to hate something else about yourself. You're gonna, it's like eternal. It's not even about the weight. Like, the weight's gonna come off. You're just gonna find some other thing to nitpick, somewhere else to go. And that's why I think, you know, like, it's so important for us to talk about this, not just in this sector of life, of body image, but I think in general too, even with success. You know, we get so tied to always these end results, and then we know, because we've been there, you get to the end result and you're like, wait, I don't even want this anymore. I didn't even want this. You know?
Well, I mean, it's so important to, like, as much as you're training your body, you should be training your mind and your emotions as well, right? So like, if you're learning, for example, you're learning proper form or technique, you know, you're going to try it a few times before you master it, right? And the same applies to when you're looking in the mirror and finding a problem on you, right? You have to train your mind to no longer see that as a problem. So even that, you have to build that endurance for. Which is why it becomes that journey, right? Because it's, we're going to have moments in those lows, but the more we do it, the better we get at it, until we get to a point where it's like, you can look at yourself, know what number's on that scale, and still be like, yeah, I'm a bad bitch, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
like, I think when I have moments in my own journey, when I have moments of like, because I just got on the scale this morning, because I was weighing my clients, and I was like, oh, one of them was like, oh, it's wrong. And I was like, let me get on here. And so I got on it, and I was like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting to see that number. But I know me, like a year ago, would have been like, okay, got to work on it, Ronnie. Like, you kind of let yourself go. But me now, I remember the place I was at when I did a photo shoot October 1st. I did Ashley knows what it was. I did a nude photo shoot.
Oh.
I was probably at my heaviest that I've probably been since I started my fitness journey. But I loved me in my skin, and I loved doing the poses, and I just loved everything about it. So now that that's in my head and I've experienced it, I can't look at the scale now and go back and say, oh my God, I'm so this or that. Like, I loved me in that heavy moment, all of me. But it took, I was 37 when that happened. Like, it took like at least 10 years for that moment to occur, you know? And I even look back at October, like I fasted that whole month, and I lost all that weight by the end. Like, I've gotten down to like 165, and literally I've put it all back on, but it wasn't for that aesthetic goal, right? So like in my mind now, it was for a spiritual goal. It was for an emotional and mental goal. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but the whole point is like, I'm my heavy. Even though right after I lost like 16 pounds, I still loved myself through it. I love myself through gaining it back, and I'm at a healthy point now. But like I said, it's been a 10-year long thing. I remember when I started the fitness industry, and I would work out, I'd lift heavy so I could eat all the shit.
Yeah.
Like literally all the shit, like the supplements, the donuts, the like everything, like, oh, I'm lifting heavy so I can eat all this stuff. And you know, now I realize like, okay, so much of that sugar, so much of that processed stuff is not good for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's all encompassing too in that industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's challenging, you know. I think like for me, I wanted to go into this super like, well, I've lost 70 pounds before. I've done this before. Like, you know, so now's the thing. It's like, yeah, I've done this before, but I already know how that shit went. And I could do it again in a different mindset, which is, you know, kind of not that I want to do it again, but I definitely got a wake up call of like, maybe you should clean up your eating habits, you know, like you could sugar. Like you posted that thing like sugar is like cocaine, and me and my cousin always joke around about that because we swear we have like a fucking sugar addiction.
Oh, it totally is. It hits that same addictive center in your brain as those drugs do. So in my opinion, it's more addictive than those things.
I believe so as well. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. It's so easily accessible. And, you know, and I have a sweet tooth. So, you know, but that was kind of where I had a realization too with how I was feeling. I was like, maybe the universe is just trying to wake you up to like not, you know, eating hella sugar all the time because it's in your face or because you have access to it or, you know, whatever it may be. And like, also, you know, my movement had lacked a bit. And I remembered, I was like, I love moving, but I think with the gyms closing, you know, everything's been so weird that I had gotten lazy doing my at-home workouts because it's just in this space that I have to do it. So sometimes I don't want to do it, or I have been active, but I've been doing little baby hikes at, you know, Bernal and stuff. And so it's been chill, but I kind of had a realization where I was like, I miss, and I commented to you, Ronnie, I was like, I think what I realized was it's not even the weight gain. It's so easy to blame it on the weight gain because that's what we're conditioned to do. But what I missed was being strong.
Yeah.
I walked my cousin through all the TRX exercises on the freaking poster because I was trying to show him how to do it, and I was hauling ass. And like I could do everything. I could, like, my muscle memory was there and I was shook, but I was just like, holy shit, like I could, it's almost like I had a weighted vest on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I could just feel like the difference in my body. But it's not even about the weight. I think for me, it was just like, girl, like you love working out. Like, you know, you love eating healthier meals, so like why are you reaching for the opposite, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important too, is like really being honest with yourself,
Yes.
and like trial and error too in this journey, like
Yeah.
knowing when it is that you are overdoing it because you feel unworthy and because you feel like your body is an issue, but also when you're not tending to your overall well-being, right? Like for me, it's always been really difficult to gauge whether I'm being like healthy and truly care about health, or when I really just care about feeling smaller, right? Like it's really difficult, especially when you struggle with like an eating disorder or body dysmorphia. You don't It's not as easy to say like, okay, I overdid it that time. Like you really have to recover. You're on this journey of recovery,
Yeah.
right? For a long time, and almost forever, you know? So you have to kind of like be honest with yourself about like, okay, am I wanting to work out because I want to move and I want to reap the benefits of that movement and feel good and tend to my overall well-being, or do I want to move because I feel like I'm gaining weight and that's an issue, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important to gauge. Same with eating, right? Like, am I wanting to eat this healthy food because I want more energy, because I want to feel better because of the benefits that come from eating these high vibrational foods? Or
Mhm.
am I restricting because I want to lose weight, right? Because I feel like the fact that I've gained weight is an issue, not because of my health, but because of how society perceives me and how I perceive myself, right? Like because we can mask so easily. And I think that when you struggle with kind of like restricting and everything, it's really easy to mask it and say like, oh, but I'm just doing this because it's healthy, right?
Yeah.
And you really have to be real with yourself on when you're just masking and you're not genuinely doing it because you care about your overall well-being. You're doing it because you care about that scale dropping, or you care about fitting into certain clothes, you know? Like it's really important, because you can eat healthy and still gain weight, you know?
Yeah.
Like so it's important to really be honest with yourself, I have found, and know that sometimes you are going to overdo it, or sometimes you're going to reach for
Mhm.
certain things because of how you feel emotionally. Like there's just so much to it, and
Yeah.
it's not this like, okay, if you're on this journey of recovery for a year, then you're going to be good forever. Like it's not like once you practice these things for a certain amount of time, you're going to be good forever. Like sometimes you will have days where you're reaching for certain things and you have to sit with yourself and ask yourself why and where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to reject certain things, and you also have to sit with yourself and figure out why that's happening. Like why you feel like you shouldn't have something sweet, or why you feel like you shouldn't have, you know? Like it's important to really be aware and be on this journey with yourself, because it's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
And it's something that takes a lot. I think we can all attest to the fact that it takes a lot of work, and
Yeah.
it's work that we put in today, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's not
Yeah.
just work that we have put in and then now we're like everything is great and everything is
Yeah.
perfect. It's work that we continue to put in because we have the tools. We can put it in maybe quicker, but it's not like you put it in for this amount of time and you're never going to have a thought ever again.
No, I think an important thing to remind oneself too is that don't beat yourself up, you know, like if you make a mistake one day, like
Yeah.
I think that was what I had to learn in this past year. Like with quarantine, I had the same issue, Monica. Like I gained all this weight, and it was because I had fallen off. In the beginning, I was all like, yeah, home workouts, you know, and like building my gym in the garage to train clients where I wasn't even doing shit. Like,
I know that feeling.
you know, like I had this
Yeah.
stuff in the garage and I couldn't even get my ass to walk into the garage and use that stuff. And I realized a lot of it, I had to deal with a lot of emotional things that were coming up. I had to deal with a lot of like mental things that were showing and presenting themselves. There was other things that I needed to work on for myself in this past year. And my physical health, not I don't want to say my physical health, my physical fitness got pushed to the side. And I finally got to a point where I realized, and like you said, Ashley, it came down to me finally holding myself accountable and checking in with myself and saying, okay, are you happy right now? And when the answer's no, then you have to ask those next questions like, okay, why aren't you happy? What what can you change? What can you do differently? And these are all questions I'm asking myself. Like, okay, it's time to start paying attention to what's going in, And so I pulled out my Fitness Pal again. I was like, okay, let me track what I'm eating, because I realized I was eating way too much than I should have been, snacking here and there. And then finally I reached out to a friend. I was like, look, I need to be held accountable. Can you make a workout plan for me? Because I'm clearly not doing it for myself. And a coach had to reach out to another coach, and I got back on it. But the most important thing, I think, for us to continue on in these journeys is that, like you said, not to beat ourselves up when we fall off or lose our way, but to just remind ourselves we can get back on that path when it's time and when we feel truly ready to do so.
Yes, no shoulda, coulda, wouldas. That's what I told myself, because I was like, what is that gonna do? That's beating yourself up. The shoulda,
Exactly.
coulda, wouldas. Because it's like you are where you belong for a reason. And that was a big thing for me, is that I always find myself, because my fitness journey started in like 2013, so it's been like almost 10 years, but I find myself, looking back at photos, and I'm sure you guys experience this as well, where, I'm like, damn, like you were so fucking mean to yourself, like, or like you used to hate on yourself, and like you don't even realize it. So I was like, I don't want to hate on this present self, like this, like this person doesn't deserve that, like she's doing amazing, like she's doing her best, and she's worthy of love, and she doesn't have to be, like quote unquote skinnier. And I think that's been a big thing for me too, is the reason why I'm getting triggered is because I have been like, I've been single for an eternity, we know that, but I've been putting myself
you ain't alone, sister.
Oh my god.
I've been putting myself out there, like, and then I think that sometimes, unfortunately, where like some of the shame starts to come in of like, how am I gonna be received? Like, am I hot enough? Or just stupid shit like that. I'm just saying, it's so stupid.
But it happens. I mean, the same goes in my mind too. Like when Ashley's heard me cry about this. It's like, when is it gonna happen?
Yeah. Exactly. So I think like that was something big for me. It's like I have to check myself too. Like even with dating, it's like like I have to just own myself, because I came across, I don't even remember this girl's name, but it was like a body positive models page, and so she had a recent weight gain over the last year, but she's like, Ashley, just bearing it out, and I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, like she's so confident because she looks great. But even if I had her body, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't like internally feel ready to like put myself out there like that. So to see her do that, to see you Ashley do that, like I think I go to your page too, and I'm like, you look so amazing, So I'm grateful for women that like put themselves out there like that, because at the end of the day, I am reminded that like my body's beautiful, because I feel like when we see normal bodies, quote unquote, just, not like super fit, like the ideal that people, usually tend to go for, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. When we see like, quote unquote, just women's bodies, like I just feel so grateful, because it reminds me like, that's your body too. And like, when I look at their bodies, I don't think ew, you know what I mean? So like, why am I thinking ew about myself?
Well, I think that's so important, because I even growing up, like I grew up with my mom struggling with an eating disorder, and I never I've seen her in so many different stages that it's like completely different people. Like people that knew my mom in one stage would not recognize her in this stage, or and vice versa, because of how many transformations she's had because of the eating disorders that she struggled with. So I never saw that, like I never saw a less worthy person or a more worthy person. I saw the love of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw this human being that I just like adore to pieces. And that always reminds me along my journey, in the moments where I do struggle with that, I'm like, I don't have any way of like loving her less because of how she looks. That's like completely irrelevant to me. It just is a factor, right? And so if I'm looking at myself in the mirror with a conditional love that I don't give to other people, I have to check myself and work on that. Not feel guilty for it, not hate myself for it, not be frustrated with myself for it, but own it and learn and investigate it, because that doesn't come from me. These thoughts, these beliefs that we're not enough and that we are not receiving love because of how we look are not true. These are beliefs that came from society. They came from other people. They came sometimes from family, right? Like, girl, you're not gonna get a man if you look like that, or you need to lose weight. Stop, para de comer porque te está poniendo gorda. Like, all of these things were conditioned, right? They were taught to us from when we were children. So it is not something that's going to be easy to unlearn and easy to unpack, but it deserves to be investigated, because they are not our original thoughts. They don't belong to us, and they rob from our lives. Because the only reason that I am able to do these shoots is because I was sick and tired of living that way. I was sick and tired of being in a thinner body and not even being able to look at myself with acceptance. Forget with love, like with acceptance, with just saying like, I'm enough right now. I couldn't do that, you know? So if I couldn't do that in the mirror, like with me and nobody else in the room, what do you think it was like being with somebody? I couldn't be intimate with somebody and be seen. You get what I'm saying? Like to have somebody look at you, to look at me was like overwhelming, you know, like an overwhelming feeling of like fear and anxiety. Like, oh, if they see me like really for too long, they're not going to want to be with me anymore. Even when I was in a thinner body, right? So I think it's so beautiful to see people saying like, this is my body, like take it as it is, and this might change in a year, this might change because it looks thinner, this might change because it looks bigger, but this is what it is, right? And you don't have to like it, but I'm gonna do what I want to do regardless, you know, like whether even when I don't feel confident in my skin, even in the days or the moments, right? Because sometimes it's not a full day, sometimes it's a second where I'm like, oh my God, like, what did I do? You know, or why do I look like this? Or maybe I should just go to that journey again and like starve myself again just so that I can reach this, right?
Yeah.
Because it is that extreme for me. It's not like, oh, maybe you should lose a couple pounds. For me, those thoughts are like, maybe you should starve yourself again so you can lose 30 pounds in a month and then you'll feel good, right? So when I have those moments, I'm like, fuck this. Like, I feel this way and I can honor it because they're valid thoughts and beliefs because of what I grew up experiencing and what I still experience. But I'm not going to let that take from my life. I'm still going to do a fucking photo shoot. I'm still going to go to a beach in a bathing suit if that's what I want to do, in a bikini. I'm going to do that because I deserve to feel liberated in my body, even when my own mind is like, girl, maybe you shouldn't wear that. Maybe you shouldn't post that. Maybe, because of those limiting beliefs that surface again, right? So I think that it's important for people to keep seeing it and keep seeing themselves even in their body, in their real body. And not even get to the point where they're like excited to see that, but at least to the point where they accept that this is what is, and that does not equate to their worth.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to just add really quick because I just wanted to add this. It's just, I think it's so important for us to kind of, like you said, no matter what you're wearing, because I feel like a lot of the times, like you said, it's like a lot of the things we're tripping off of are things that nobody even sees. No one else even sees that. It's just like our brain warped and telling us all these lies that we've heard.
And just to piggyback on what you just said, Monica, like literally that right there, it's in everyone has their own mind. So everyone is so hyper focused on their own things that no one's really paying attention to the one that you're paying attention to in your own mind, you know, like it really does come down to us and our perception of ourselves. Like what I notice about me, Ashley probably is like, what are you talking about? But meantime, in her own mind, she's probably focusing on something of her own. Like, and that's the thing, we have to respect that people are in their own entity, like, and having their own thoughts about their own entity, like, and to guide people in a direction of what you just said, the acceptance. Like, I think acceptance is the first like step in appreciating your body and getting to that point, is you do, because that's the present moment, right? The sooner you accept it is what it is right now in this moment, that is you being present with yourself and accepting, okay, this is what I'm working with. This is the direction I want to go in. And every day I have to accept that this is where I am in that journey.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think sorry.
No, go for it.
What you said is really important too, because at the same time, sometimes people will not be focused on themselves and they will be focused on your body. Like
Yeah.
I'm on social media where I get comments that are horrendous, you know, and not only that, but I have family members that till this day, if I don't weigh a certain amount, they will call it out. They will say, you need to stop eating, girl, because you're gaining weight. Like this is not something that they have gotten to the place where they see that that's harmful. They're going to do that, right? So I think it's important, even in those moments where you do get people that are calling out your weight, that you understand that that's still their perception and that you don't have to adopt or agree with that perception, right?
Yes.
Because it is not yours and you do not have to agree with it.
Yes,
Exactly.
snaps to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because everybody has their own like twisted ideal of what beautiful is. And I always like try to remind people, you know, like you could be walking down the street and you could absolutely despise your body or whatever is going through your mind, and there will still be at least 10 people walking down the street, unfortunately, because they're hating their body, wishing they had your body. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And so I just feel like it's like about, I don't know, like it's about, like you said, acceptance, because you know what I was tripping off of, Ronnie, you know how you're really big into having your clients connect to their body, like literally connect to their body. I think that's so important. That's part of it, because one of the things that started to help me actually like get familiar with my body was doing my self-love lotion massages, where I actually touch my body.
Yes.
Not just go over it with the loofah because it's just there or whatever. It's like actually touching every single part of my body and like connecting to it in that physical sense, because I feel like sometimes we can be so like up here, you know, like that we forget about being in here. And so I love how you help your clients connect to their bodies, because I think that's so important.
Thank you.
Yes. And what I love about that too is that it is them connecting to their bodies because it's their bodies that do so much for them, and not their body that has to look a certain way. Like sometimes we get so stuck, right, on body image that we lose touch with like how incredible our
like
body
literally
is.
us sitting here and every cell is doing something for us, and we're just here chatting it up, drinking our tea, you know.
Like, that gave me goosebumps.
That's why that the other day I thought of it. I was like, body gratitude. I like that. Like that's my new thing. Body gratitude.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Yes, I agree. You know, it's funny. I think I'm gonna get a little morbid here, but when we kick the bucket, we're not gonna be like, damn, the scale, you know, the thighs.
Exactly.
One of the things I tell clients that they're like, when they don't want to get weighed or anything like that, I literally, or if they're worried about the number, I tell them, if you took me and, for example, Ashley, and we went into outer space, she would have her body, I would have my body, and we'd both be 0 pounds. So the number on the scale, like, is literally the force of gravity on your body against this machine spitting out a number. Like, and my favorite quote, and you know I'm gonna botch it, is Bob Marley's Numbers, like the numbers game. Not numbers game. I will find this quote and I will say it has to do with numbers, and it can be applied to like anything. He's talking about it in the sense of money. And I'm talking about it in all senses. Like numbers really don't matter. I'm gonna find it. You two can
And that's another thing about sizes. Oh my god, recently I had to, like, all my old jeans started fitting me a little tight, and I had to go and like get some new jeans, and I was like size 14, because in my brain I was still size 8 and size 10, which, you know, F the sizes, I don't care. Unfortunately, that's the mindset I was going through. But then I saw somebody I know that like post like, oh, I'm a size this and this, and these pants fit me really great, just in case you want to know. But then I was like thinking, I was like, she doesn't even look that size, you know? And I was just processing like, these freaking sizes are such a sham, because
they are,
like, my other pants were a size 10 and they fit perfectly. And then all of a sudden I was a size 14.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
same body.
Every store is different. Every brand is
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
It's
And
ridiculous.
that's another thing, you know, in the fashion industry. And Ashley, I know that you're familiar with this, with modeling and everything. But the
Yes.
fashion industry is a huge contributor to women feeling so dysmorphed in their bodies because
Absolutely.
the sizes are so inconsistent and we're so
Yeah.
reliant on a stupid size, whether it's a letter or a number,
Yeah.
to define our worthiness. It's almost like when we
Yes.
step into that L or we step into a double digit, it's like, you know, the world is falling, like, oh my God, you know,
Absolutely.
when in actuality, it's like, you know, that person could be wearing a size 14 and you wouldn't even know it, you know?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think
you look at how they carry themselves. Like I look at Ashley
Yes.
and I'm like, I could never wear that. But it's the way she carries herself when she's wearing it. And I've had to, that's what I've learned. One of the things I've learned from her is like, when I'm like having those moments and I'm looking in the mirror, I'm like, no, what would Ashley do?
What would Jesus do? What would Ashley do?
Like,
Yes.
No, and I love it too, Ashley, because you seriously, you rock stuff that so many women who are super hyper conditioned would be like, I could never wear that. You know what I mean? And it's over like the silliest things, you know, that why they couldn't wear it. Maybe like your fupa is showing. Like, so what if your fupa is showing? We all have fupas. We have a uterus.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and I get that all the time because there are so many people that want to wear something. That's the big thing. Like it was never that I didn't like want to wear these things. It was just that I felt like I could not wear them because people that looked like me didn't wear them.
yeah.
And I thought that that was made for a reason. When you see like plus size bathing suits, they're usually more covered up because nobody wants to see a plus size body in a 2-piece bathing suit. And that's ridiculous to me. Like that's not fair. And I feel like it's important for people to see someone that looks like them, or at least that looks like just a human being, like a human being with a body that's not this like model-esque figure that we're used to seeing, wear whatever the freak they want to wear and not feel like because of the way that their body looks, they can't wear it. And the fashion industry has so much to do with that. The movies that we see, you're not going to see a movie with a plus size woman or man not wearing a shirt or wearing a 2-piece bathing suit. It's not seen. It's not seen where she's not being made fun of, where she's not told to cover up. You don't see, it's never been seen. And that's an issue.
I think it's entering now though. Like I've seen a couple things on Netflix or even Hulu where the main character is a plus size actress and bringing to light that perspective now. So like, I think now we're starting to see a movement in that direction.
Yeah.
But in the same, along the same lines of what you're saying, it actually, and again, it comes back to our own minds and where we're at, right? Like I've had the flip side of that where I'll see a plus size woman wearing something and I'm like, damn, she's rocking it. Or like, I want to wear that. But then I'm like, but I don't have the butt for that. Or I don't have, you know what I mean? Like
you're always going to find something.
There's always something.
Have it in some way, shape or form.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. And I think it's something that, you know, even we have to recognize they might not speak about it, but even the most perfect Barbie cookie cutter bodies feel that way. They feel less than. You don't know how many, and I know you know this, but I'm going to say this to the audience because I know y'all have experienced this, but you don't know how many trainers I have had come up to me when I used to train in like settings where there was a bunch of trainers and be like, is my butt shrinking? You know, just from day to day. Is my butt getting bigger? Is my butt shrinking? From day to, it's been 24 hours, girl. Like,
absolutely.
And it's just so crazy, like, because you know, and for me, there's people that like you would think look amazing, but like even the people that look the most amazing struggle. I think if not, I'm gonna be completely honest, I feel like they struggle the most. And I'm gonna say this because when I looked my most amazing and everything is when I felt the most like incomplete. I felt like the most insecure, and like I would find like things about myself, you know, maybe because I had been in a bigger body and I shrunk, whether it was the loose skin or whatever, or the stretch marks or something that like still was not perfect, you know. And it's so challenging because I feel like women are constantly on a journey to change their bodies, thinking that that's going to be the end all, thinking that that's going to, you know, be like the magic sparkle dust that's going to solve all the problems. And it makes me sad. I think as a trainer, you know, training women and particularly in the past, that's always been such a hard thing for me to navigate through, is having clients just like nitpick them like the crap out of themselves and just, you know, constantly like be like, I'm gonna be happy when I look like that. And I would constantly be like, no, you're not. And I can attest because I've lost 70 pounds. And
Exactly.
And it comes down to that statement you just said. I'm gonna be happy when, as opposed to what's making you happy now. Like when you finished a workout, do you feel happy that you finished your workout? You know, like it's bringing it back to right now. Like,
yes,
not I'll be happy then or in the future, or why aren't you happy now? What is preventing you from experiencing happiness right now?
yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
And that's what it comes down to. We're attaching our happiness to these goals or to these outside things. And when it doesn't happen on our timeline, then it's like, oh, okay, I'm unhappy with the cookies. Let me, you know, like,
Yeah,
I say that because I'm guilty of that. Like,
Girl Scout cookie season.
yesterday I was in my feels. I don't know how many Girl Scout cookies I ate, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat them right now because I'm feeling like this.
Yeah, same. I finished my 2 boxes and I was like, it's okay. It's okay.
I found that quote though, speaking of happiness.
Oh, yes.
So it's a Bob Marley quote: money is numbers and numbers never end. If it takes money to be happy, your search for happiness will never end.
So true. It's so true.
Yes.
The numbers thing can be applied to, if you're looking at the scale, that's a number and you're attaching your happiness to it. Like you cannot attach your happiness to something outside of you.
For sure.
Yeah. And I just want to add in here because we've all been on our journeys, we've all experienced stuff. And so with seeing that, we've been every single size on the spectrum, like in our own unique way. And I just want to like add on that one of the big things for me within recognizing my little moment I had the other day with the mirrors and the body image was that like my body is, looking back at the last whatever, like I don't know, since 2013, like since I really like morphed and paid attention to things, my body's never looked the same once. It's always looked like completely different. You know what I mean? Whether it was smaller or bigger or whatever. And so that was a big thing for me. It was like, I don't know why we're obsessed with like reaching some like ultimate like end game, because the truth is that we are humans. Our lifestyles change. Our habits change with that. And we are never going to look the same. You know? But every single body, no matter what your eating habits are, no matter how much you feel like shit inside, is worthy. Period.
Yes,
you know?
exactly. That's the main thing. Like, I think that is the message I think that has to continuously be pushed, because yes, it matters to feel good in your body. Yes, it's important to tend to all aspects of your body and be healthy and all of that, but it's important to understand that even if you're not, like, even if your goal is not health, even if you're not tending to yourself, even if you are in a bigger body and you are tending to health, even if regardless of what it is that your experience is, you are not less worthy. You're not less worthy. You are worthy through every single part of this journey, and you will endlessly evolve, you will endlessly grow and transform and change. And that does not change your worth. Your worth never changes. But we are conditioned to tie so many things to our worth and our happiness and our joy and our inner peace, that we truly believe that our worth is tied to success, or it's tied to money, or it's tied to the number on the scale, or it's tied to the size that we wear, it's tied to the relationships we have. And it's not. And I think that it's really important through this journey to continuously remind yourself of the fact that you are worthy through it all, despite it all. And that can't change no matter what you do and don't do.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you too, because so this question came to my mind one night last July. So I want you guys to take a moment and think about how you want to respond. So the question is, what would you think about yourself if mirrors didn't exist?
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to swallow.
Because at a certain point in humanity, mirrors did not exist.
That's so cool.
I don't even know my life without a mirror, so that's why I'm like
exactly
trying to imagine that. Oh my gosh. Wow. You know what? This took me back really quick to I think one of my first memories is so sad. Okay, this is so sad. Oh my god. But it took
It's
me back
okay.
to one of my first memories in a mirror, and I was maybe like 6, and because of these weird like Eurocentric features that were, I mean, I know that I am like, I have Eurocentric features, but I mean like blonde hair, blue eyes, and just like this ideal of like what was portrayed to us, like this Barbie ideal. I remember being super little, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror and just crying. I was like 6, and asking myself why I was so ugly. And like, I know it's so sad because you think I'm an adult now, I'm 28. So it's like, oh my God, why would, but I needed
Sad.
to put that out there because that was like the one first memory I have of looking at myself in the mirror and, as a 6-year-old, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's such an interesting question that you're asking because I think that if it wasn't for mirrors, I wouldn't be able to have that reflection. You know what I mean? Maybe I would walk up to a pond and be like, "Oh, that's what I look like."
Oh my god, I love you
At the
so
end of
much.
the day, like I wouldn't really. Other than that, I wouldn't have that. I guess like you're kind of like judging yourself through like some weird dimension because you're able to like look at yourself,
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think without mirrors, I don't think I would have developed this weird and let's just say like cameras don't exist either, like anything to be able to like see yourself in.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't have let's take pawns out of the picture too. I wouldn't have hated myself. I think I would just completely accept myself as is, and that's the thing about mirrors is that I want to just add on is the other day I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, why do I feel fine in my mirrors, but then when I'm in other mirrors, it's like an optical illusion or something. Like, what the hell is this? So which leads
Yes.
to the whole funhouse mirrors, which I went through a super deep dive of like weird like mirror thoughts, but I was thinking to myself, like, is what I'm seeing in the mirror even what's really there?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
Well,
little
for
reflection.
me, well, I love that. I love that. And I love that you mentioned the pond because I was thinking the whole time, like, if there were no mirrors, like, how did people ever know how they looked? And it's like, maybe they did look at ponds.
They're drinking water.
Oh my gosh. But for me, I feel like, so it's weird for me because mirrors didn't really become an issue for me until like it was made evident that people had an issue with my weight. You get what I'm saying? Like for me, my main issue revolving around weight and the fact that it happened at such a young age was because my family were it was an issue for them, and they were constantly talking about it, and I didn't feel safe around people. It wasn't so much like I didn't start looking in the mirror to like confirm that until I was hearing it from outside people that I trust, right? Like I feel like when you're a kid, now I know that like mirrors and people are not accurate representations of like my worth or me. But as a kid, you don't know that because these are the people that you trust and that you love, and so you expect for you trust their judgment, right, of you trust what they're saying to you, so you do believe that what they're saying is true because they're your family, they know better than like it's you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is an issue, so you adopt that belief, so then you like kind of live to change that. So for me, I have had issues obviously with reflection being older and being a child, mainly because of like it rooting from the people that made me look at myself in a different way,
Yeah.
because I don't know if before that's how I felt until
Yeah.
it was like constantly like nitpicked, right? Like, so the more that others nitpick me, then I kind of adopted these beliefs and started nitpicking my own self. And
Yeah.
so I do think that it would be less of a struggle if there were no mirrors, because I wouldn't have, on top of people saying things, to say it to myself through
Yeah.
reflection, which I
Yeah.
think would be great. But I don't know. It's weird for me. I don't know.
It's a very complex question because
It is.
Yeah.
because Ashley brought up the whole, which I didn't even think about, which reminded me too. Like I
Mhm.
did have weird pressures from my family, when like I think like my first weight gain from 3rd to 4th grade that summer, I gained 30 pounds. But my parents were also going through a divorce, and
Yeah.
so I was eating my feelings, but like nobody was checking up on it. People were just telling me like you're eating too much, which as a 9-year-old, like how am I supposed to process that? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think like the marriage question, I took it more as in like I wouldn't judge myself if because I feel like if marriage didn't exist, we probably wouldn't be so obsessed with body image. If like kind of going back to like nomadic times, I don't know, like way back when like people were concerned of whether your body could hunt or like harvest food.
Survive. It was about
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And then the Latino, I don't know how it is for, you know, the Indian, you know, kind of culture, but in the Latino culture, I know that a lot of this stems from the media, and a lot of this stems from like I don't know, like it's so strange because people even like I don't know, I don't know how to explain this, but like people are like that aren't even like I don't know, in the fitness or any of that, like people are still conditioned to be like, oh, está bien gorda, or oh, está bonita pero está gorda, like she's pretty but she's fat, you know? Or just things like that where people just automatically like, I don't know where that conditioning came from.
I feel like that's in every culture because we all have bodies, right? So at some point in every culture it happens. Like, I remember growing up for myself, it was a term of endearment. And, you know, you're a kaddu, my little kaddu, you know, which is pumpkin. It's like, but it, you know, obviously it's because you're chunky that they're calling you this. And when you're a baby and they're calling you this already as a baby, and it's like, even into your like young, like elementary school years, you're still getting that nickname. At a certain point in time, it does stick. And I remember even getting into college, like I gained the freshman 15. And then at that point it was, okay, Ronnie, you need to start going to the gym and working out or no one's going to marry you. So then it was like tied to whether you're going to get a relationship or not. And I didn't realize how much it was imprinted and affected me until I started watching, there was a Netflix series. It was an Indian one. It was a Bollywood series. And it was a girl, a chubbier girl going through this and hearing that from her parents. And I like every episode I was bawling my eyes out because I was relating to this TV series. And I'm like, oh my God, why am I crying? I thought I got over this because I got to my goal weight. I got to my being strong. Like it was right after that moment. But clearly the wound was still there and needed to heal, which is why the tears came up, even though I was probably the fittest that I've been when I watched it. But that's how far back some of this stuff can go. Like you said, clicks, you know,
which is
when
subconscious programming.
Exactly.
You know, because when we're 0 to 7 is when we really absorb all these beliefs. And so that's why, you know, Ashley was talking about investigating, because these beliefs, we don't even know where they came from. So in order to like pluck the weed, we have to find the root, you know,
absolutely.
And it's hard because it brings up these like overwhelming memories of maybe your first experiences with body shame or your first experiences with weight shame. And it's sad, it's heartbreaking. It's like me talking about me being 6 years old looking in the mirror, because you think back, like you look at a child and you'd be like, oh hell no, you know, like why are they going through that? And it's like we as children went through that. So I feel like it's been about, for me personally, like really learning to nurture my inner child. One of the things that I had was like, so I kind of like looked at my body like this avatar, this character that I selected. Okay. And I was like, why am I being so mean to the character that I selected? Like, I chose you. Like, you're momentary. Like, you're just a small fragment in time. And, you know, I chose you. So, like, why am I spending my time being so mean to a body that's helping me be my vessel throughout this journey, you know? And so I think really breaking that down for me enabled me to like stop being I'm a Virgo, so it stopped me from being so mean to myself.
Funny you say that, because I had that moment a couple weeks ago where I literally like, I was telling my co-host of another live that I do, I was like, after we ended, I was like, you know what? Now that I'm taking care of myself again, like I really like, this is the body God gave me. And I have to just accept that it's going to receive certain attention. It's especially when I actually take care of myself and like do my hair or put my makeup on, you know, like it's going to receive certain attention, but I have to be confident in knowing me and what attention I want and what attention I don't want and where I give my energy to. But I cannot deny myself my God-given body, that's going to happen. Like, I can't deny that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it comes down to an acceptance thing. Like you said, like knowing that God gave me this vessel and I have to take care of it. And like, I wish I could create a manual for it, you know, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
this is what you do when this happens. And this is
Yeah.
what you do when this happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what's hard too, is that the fact that we don't have a manual and we don't really like these
Yeah.
conversations are very new. You know, like these
Yeah.
conversations are had now, which is why I think it's
Mhm.
amazing that we do them and that we continue doing them. But these are not things that like my mom had access to, you know, so
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
her mom and so on and so forth. So like
Yeah.
those generations of
You're learning
people
from
believing these things, right, they're passed down to us without us knowing what to do with them, and so we do
Mhm.
adopt them without
Yeah.
realizing that
Mhm.
they're not true about us and they don't
Yeah.
serve our highest good. And even what you said, Monica, like I resonated so much with when you said that like you essentially experienced a trauma and you were coping with that trauma in the only way you knew how as a child, because you did not
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
any support or any tools and any resources to help you through that
Mhm.
trauma, right? And
Mhm.
instead of the people around you honoring that and acknowledging that, they
Mhm.
made it harder for you, you know? And
Mhm.
I resonate with that. That's similar, very similar to what I experienced, that and what so many children experience, that they are coping in whatever way they know best to do, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
without consciously doing it. Like your brain is going to do like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, this makes us feel better, let's just keep doing it because it's the only way we can survive at that point, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so instead of that being tended to and acknowledged, the focus is our image. And
Mhm.
it really takes a lot of unlearning and realizing that like these are the conversations that help heal.
Yeah.
These are the conversations, other than the work that we do within our own time and space, it's really important to talk about it, because our ancestors, even the people that did the shaming, that did the nitpicking, right? Even with you, Ronnie, about like, oh, well, girl, you need to lose. Those are people that came from that way of thinking
Yeah.
that will not be passed down. And I think
Yeah.
that that's what's so
Exactly. Yes.
amazing, right,
Yeah.
Yes.
about these conversations, because they end with us. You know, like
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
not going to do that.
Yeah, and
Right.
not, I think, releasing the blame all complete, like all across the
Hmm.
board, because even
Yeah.
if they did perpetuate it, they are victims of that perpetuation
Exactly.
because they
Yes.
don't
Exactly.
know better. And also,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add in, like, it's not just what we're seeing and observing subconsciously through our experiences. It's
Hmm.
also DNA. Like,
Yeah.
if you come from your mother's vessel and your
Hmm.
mother's DNA has encoded whatever experiences, and then you're born, it's kind of like inevitably like your DNA is going to get triggered by your
Hmm.
experiences. And like I feel like it's connected. So I feel like, you know, like what you're saying is so important, is that we are essentially healing this generational trauma of
Yeah.
right now talking about body image and self-acceptance and, you know, body gratitude, but
Hmm.
it is up to us to really do that. And I think what helps me, because I feel like, you know, specifically, I don't know, like, not, I'm not just saying in our generation, but I think because we have all these tools and resources and stuff, but like for the generation that's doing all the generational healing, um it feels like a really big task. It feels like a burden sometimes, but
Hmm.
you know what's helped me like release the anger of feeling like, oh, why don't I have to deal with all this crap that I didn't even create, you know what I mean? Like I think it's actually like empowering for me to recognize that, like, you know what, like it didn't start with me, but like you said, like it ends with me.
Exactly.
And I don't want, you know, any, like if I do have children, I don't want this generation, or even like my little cousins or anybody that
Exactly.
experiences anything around me, I don't want them to step into like the same stuff, you know? Like I want them to see that there's another way and that they do have a choice, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like you just
Definitely.
said, with the DNA, you're changing the DNA moving forward,
Exactly.
Mhm.
right? So you can
Yeah.
even look at it in that way. Like, yeah, that burden that you feel, right? Like, why did I have to do this? Why am I the one? Like, wait, I'm the one that gets to change it moving forward. I'm the
Yes.
changing the DNA, because DNA is able to change, uh,
Yes.
moving forward.
Yeah.
And I love what you
Absolutely.
said about not blaming, because
Mhm.
I mean, one of the things that I truly, truly like is a part of a core of me is taking responsibility for self. And
Yeah.
the only way to heal is to do that.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
shifting blame to other things is not how you heal or work or
Mhm.
improve, and taking that responsibility is. So
Yeah.
For sure.
self-responsibility is a huge thing. So I'm glad you
Yeah.
said that. Yeah.
I love that.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
I
Yes.
think that's a good place to end.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Ah, it was
Oh,
That was
great.
I'm so
Yeah,
happy we
amazing.
did
great
this.
conversation. I can't wait to share it.
I
Yeah.
know. Oh, it's
Thank
so
you guys so
important.
much for having me. I'm
Thank
so
you. Thank you
happy
for
we got to
being
speak
here,
about
Monica.
this.
Thank you for
Of
participating
course.
and for being our first.
Yes. I know.
Oh,
I'm
my first guest ever. How exciting.
Yes. Are you kidding? Thank you for being here. We're so grateful. I love you. You already know that you're amazing. I am truly blessed and grateful to know both of you. And
Yes.
hopefully we can even have you on here again because this
Yes.
is so fun.
Oh yeah. There's so
Yes.
many topics we could all talk about.
Yes.
For
I
sure.
just want to
We
add.
just got a comment from
Oh,
someone
yeah,
that
comment.
said, heart not blaming from
Oh, I
Outer
love
Body
that.
7. So thank you for
Love
watching
that.
Outer Body 7.
Yes.
Thank you
And
for being
I,
here.
I just want to add one more thing because the whole
Yeah.
thing that brought us together right now was vulnerability.
yes.
And so I feel like for me, it's been such a big thing to open up and to be vulnerable. And I want to clarify, not obviously emotionally dumping, but just being real with our friends, our family, our peers that we feel comfortable being real with,
Yeah.
and just like sharing how we're feeling, because I've noticed as of late that like sometimes we want to just keep it to ourselves, and I'm all about dealing with stuff on our own, but I think just letting it out and sharing it, you don't know who you're gonna impact or what
Yeah.
conversations are gonna be had, because if I had never been vulnerable and shared that post, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that because that's something I needed to hear. Like, I'm the person that's constantly like shutting off and going in, shutting off, going in, and I don't do it on social platforms because it's just not who I am or what I do. But after yesterday's incident, I finally did, and it felt good to do. So I appreciate that comment, and it's something that I'm going to work on.
Yes, please, because you never know who you're going to impact.
Yeah.
And this is more so for you guys, but for the audience, like you just never know what conversations are going to be spiked up, or you never even know, like, because we don't know what we're going through. So you never know who's going through the same exact thing. Like,
Yeah.
Ronnie is in Sacramento, Ashley's in Miami, I'm in San Francisco. Okay. We have had different journeys. I call them parallel journeys because we're on these similar lines, but the roads are completely different. But
Yes.
we're on these similar lines, and you just never know like who's going to be going through the same thing. And ultimately, I believe that we're mirrors of each other.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I think like experiencing our mirroring together is really powerful, because I just received a lot of insight from Ronnie and Ashley throughout this
Yes.
talk, you know?
And same
Okay.
for me. Same for me too.
Yes.
Like I feel like it's so great to have these conversations because we grow too. You know, like not only is it amazing for the audience, but even for us, being vulnerable allows us all to feel like we have that space to just be without having to enter a space being perfect or being like flawless. We're entering a space knowing that it's safe to be however it is that we feel and however it is that we have to be. Which I love.
That's why I showed that comment, because what you said was just along perfect with that comment.
Oh,
Thank you
I
for
love
tuning
that.
in.
Oh, wow.
As a
That's such a
family
great
therapist.
compliment.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
awesome. Thank you for being
Yes.
here. We
Thank you so much
appreciate you.
for tuning in.
Yes, that's what we do it for, so that we can provide
Yes,
that space.
exactly. Exactly. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I love you both so much.
I love you guys too.
Mwah,
Thank
mwah,
you so
mwah,
much
mwah.
for having me on your
Oh
show.
my God.
We'll all
Thank you
do
for
Thank
being here.
together.
Our little character like beaming hearts.
Yes, exactly.
I love you
I
guys.
love you
Thank you
guys.
so much, Monica, again.
Thank
Love
you
you.
for
Have an
coming
Guys.
amazing
on.
day. Thank
All right.
And
you.
I will catch you guys later.
And
Bye.
Bye.